We're thankful to have on the line with us right now Mr. Jeff Foxworthy. Jeff, good morning to you.
Good morning, Andy. How you doing?
I am doing great. Hey, we want to thank you so much for calling in. You've got a show coming up Friday night at the KCAC, the Kovalchik Complex. And actually, I do a morning comedy cut every day here, and we have named this Jeff Foxworthy Week. So we're going to be featuring your comedy all week long here.
That's a lot of pressure on me.
Well, the pressure's on me to come up with the comedy cuts every day. And I got to tell you, it's easy whenever I'm doing comedy cuts from you because it's mostly clean stand-up. I mean, I can take like a minute out of any routine that you've done, and I can go ahead and air that without having to, bleep things out. So very clean comedy. Is that something that you have tried to do, or is it something that just is just natural for you?
Yeah, it was funny. In the beginning, I always thought, I don't want to ever say anything that if my mother came in and I didn't know it, that I was going to be mortified later. So, originally for me, I wanted to be on Johnny Carson. Well, you had to be clean to be on TV. And so I just always worked that way. And then the longer I did it, to me, it just, A, it's who I am, but B, it expands your audience. You know what I mean? I think that's why things like the Blue Collar Comedy Tour were so successful, was you didn't have to turn it off when your aunt and uncle walked in the room. And I think, it's funny, sometimes when people interview and they go, oh, you're a clean comic, there's a little bit of implication that maybe that means not as funny. And so it was always a challenge for me to go, okay, let me see if I can be as funny as everybody else without being dirty,
Now, you've been involved in stand-up, in television, in radio. You got a clothing line. You've got a lot of books out, too. I mean, it seems like you've kind of got your hands in a little bit of everything. You know what?
I'm just a blessed man. I just always, from the time I was little, had a creative mind. And so I'm never bored. I've gotten to do all those things. I just invented a game called Relative Insanity, and I literally sat down and wrote 400 punchlines, and then I wrote 100 setups involving relatives. So it might be, somebody throws the setup down saying something like, right before we walked out down the aisle, Daddy leaned over to me and whispered blank. And everybody at the table's got 7 punchlines, and they just throw down the one they think's going to get the biggest laugh, and which is a fun thing. But I'm just so blessed to be creative. But if you ever held a gun to my head and said, you can't do but one thing, I think I would be a little bit unusual in that I think I would always say stand-up. Most people get into stand-up because it's like a springboard to TV or movies or whatever. But I just always wanted to be a comic, and so I'm just so lucky that I've gotten to be a comic for so long.
And then we'll get to see that stand-up coming up on Friday night at 8 o'clock at the KCAC. And we're just so thankful that you're calling in today. Although, I got to tell you, it almost feels like I've got you right here in the studio with me. Let me explain that, because I have something in the studio here that, well, this is something we've had in our program director's office for, years now. And let me hold it up to the microphone and play this, okay?
Going to the bathroom in the middle of the night involves shoes and a flashlight. You might be a redneck.
There it is. This is the Jeff Foxworthy talking doll.
Oh, with the really big feet. Does he have really big feet?
That's it. That's the one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Nothing in your life prepares you for having a doll that talks like you. But yeah, when we did the Blue Collar Tour, they made one of all of us, and my kids were just mortified. So.
Well, I don't know. It seems like to me, if I get to the point where I got a talking doll in my likeness, doesn't that kind of feel like you've made it? It all kind of leads up to that, doesn't it?
I guess so. But nobody starts their career and goes, one day, I really hope there's a talking doll that looks like me.
Well, there you go. You have it. And, hey, we've had a contest that we had running on our Facebook page to win tickets to the show coming up Friday night. And we were encouraging people to kind of come up with their own "You Might Be a Redneck If." And they did a pretty good job with that, although some people did borrow some of yours whenever they were doing that. Now, honestly, it kind of got to the point where it was kind of hard to tell which ones were theirs because they were so good, and which ones were yours. And it kind of reminded me of something you said on stage before, which was that, this is something that seems almost universal, something that everyone seems to just get.
I think so. I think that's why it's been around for so long is, you get 20 minutes outside of any major city, and people are the same. And I always said redneck was kind of a glorious absence of sophistication. But as far as helping you judge them, I think I wrote the first joke in 1987, the first redneck joke, because I started doing the page-a-day calendars in 90, so that's been 28 years. I think over 28 years, I've written close to 8,000 of them.
Wow.
So, now it's funny, I can go back and look at some of the old ones, and they make me laugh because I forgot about them. So I'm like, oh, that was funny. When did I write that? I don't even remember. But kind of the best ones are the true ones. You don't really have to make them up. You just see something and go, all right, what's the most economical way to say this? Here it is.
Now, some comedians have lately been talking about how hard it is on stage with some people getting so offended at every little thing that happens. Have you run into any of that, or do your audience just kind of know you by now and it's not a problem?
I think it is probably a little bit of both in that, they know me and they know what to expect. But, yeah, probably as much as any time in my career, our ability to laugh at ourselves has kind of gone away. And, it's gotten to the point. In fact, I said this the other night when I walked on stage. I said, I try to always remember in dealing with everybody I deal with that everybody's going through a struggle. It might be financial, it might be emotional, somebody you love might be sick, but everybody you meet's going through a struggle. And so it's kind of that self-reminder for me to have grace with everybody. You don't know what somebody's going through. And I've always felt like laughter, it doesn't make the struggle go away, but it's kind of like the release valve that keeps the boiler from exploding. And so I told the audience, I said, so just for the next 90 minutes, let's just laugh, and then when this is over, we'll go deal with whatever we got to deal with again. But it's kind of recharges your battery a little bit. So laughter is it's a precious thing. And, one of the biggest compliments for me is at the end of the night if somebody comes up to me and goes, I can't remember the last time I laughed like that. And I'm like, oh, well, cool. That's a good thing. It kind of recharges you. So, yeah, we everybody's family's crazy. We all do stupid things. I kind of, with my comedy, I just figure, hey, if I think something or my wife says it or my family does it, other people are thinking and saying and doing the same things. And that's just kind of how I approach it. So, we've gotten as a country where we're so polarized and we just attack each other. But I think if you ever sat people down and genuinely talk to them, I bet even from opposite ends of the political spectrum, I bet we agree on 85% of the stuff. And so it's like, why don't we just celebrate and talk about the stuff we agree in instead of fighting about the stuff we don't agree on?
Absolutely. Hey, you mentioned the Blue Collar Comedy Tour earlier. Is there any chance of a resurgence there?
I would kind of like to do it. Larry the Cable Guy really wants to do it. Kind of the fly in the ointment is Ron, because after the Blue Collar Tour, when Ron went out by himself, he's just a lot dirtier than the rest of us. And so, I was kind of the daddy of the group, and I'm like, all right, we can do this, but Ron, you got to be clean. And he's like, I can't write 30 minutes of clean material. I'm like, yes, you can. You've done it before. Okay, I'm too lazy to write 30 minutes of clean material. But so part of me would really love to do it, but part of me thinks, I don't know if it would ever be as good as it was. And I would hate for people to watch it and go, it's not as good as it used to be. So I'm a little conflicted on it, but it was just a fun, magical time. We were going to do that for 3 months. We all cleared 3 months out of our schedule, and I think we did the first tour for 3 years. So, it caught us all by surprise, and to this day, I think it's the highest rated thing ever shown on Comedy Central. So, yeah, that was a cool thing.
All right, Jeff, hey, we look forward to this Friday night when you take the stage at the Kovalchik Complex. The show is at 8 o'clock, and we also want to thank you for calling in and talking with us this morning.
Oh, I appreciate you having me, and look forward to seeing everybody on Friday night. It'll be fun, I promise.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy. Greatly appreciated.